want to talk about the main thing that holds people back in OCD recovery. What prevents them from taking that next step? And let me tell you, that, from my own experience and from coaching other people, is the reluctancy to cut out compulsions, okay? That is the main thing that stops people taking that next step. Because when you cut out compulsions, as we all know, the discomfort, how that feels, the anxiety spikes, the guilt spikes. When I used to cut compulsions, I used to feel like I was seconds away from a panic attack, because I was so used to doing compulsions to stop that. I was so used to doing compulsions to stay in the comfort zone, to not feel triggered, to not feel anxious. So cutting that obviously took me to the edge. It took me to life and death situations, thinking, fuck, if I don't cut this compulsion, or if I do this compulsion, then although I might get temporary relief, long term it was going to get me nowhere. So when I had to cut that, it felt like there was no coming back. It felt like, oh my God, that's just one step too far. That's just too much. You know, am I going to be able to cope? All those questions running through your mind. I often tell people when people ask me this, they say, Sam, yeah, but that's too hard. That's just too difficult. That's just one step too far. But the reason you feel like that is because OCD is gripped in so much and you're absolutely terrified of something that cutting that compulsion feels like there's a point of no return. It feels like, fuck, if I cut that compulsion, I am never ever going to go back to normal life, to a baseline state of peace. But that's just fear. That's just fear holding you back. That's one of OCD's tricks, because otherwise I wouldn't be here making this video, Mom wouldn't be here, Rob, Nick, because we'd all just stayed in the comfort zone of doing compulsions, right? But that is false. It does not work. It's OCD's bluff, okay? It's going to say, yeah, but if you cut this, if you do this exposure, if you work on your beliefs, then that is, you're going into the wilderness of anxiety. You're going into a point where there's no return. It feels like it's going to haunt you forever. And I'm just listing things off of all things that I felt. I remember when doing exposures, it felt like, fucking hell, I can't do that. That's just one step too much. That's like, I might as well just give up on my life. The way I'm going to feel is going to just be so bad, right? That's what put me off for so long. And that's what held me back for so long, right? Now I'm talking on the other side. I'm talking from a recovered point of view. And that, if I could go back 5 years, 4 years and say, Sam, just fucking get on with it. Sorry for my language. Do that compulsion. Don't do that compulsion. Do that exposure. Look at your beliefs. Look at the behaviours that you're doing. Where are you going wrong? Okay, because often we just brush it under the carpet. We say, oh no, yes, I know it's a compulsion, but it doesn't cause that much harm. It doesn't really do, it keeps me safe. I feel okay. I'm not too triggered. But that is the exact thing holding you back. I cannot stress that enough. Okay, because people often settle for feeling okay, which is understandable, right? Because we've all been at rock bottom. We've all been to the edge of OCD. So when you get some kind of relief, when you get kind of feeling more stable, just feeling better overall, not as anxious, not as triggered, it's understandable why a OCD sufferer would want to cling on to that and want to just stay in that moment. However, that is the thing holding you back, because you think that's the best it gets. It's not. OCD recovery is much more than that. And that is the main obstacle, the stumbling block that really prevents people going to the next step. Okay, because when we do that, when we coast, when we settle for what we've got, we leave the door wide open for OCD. OCD lays dormant, waiting to pounce, waiting to jump at any moment and go boom, slapped with a trigger. Now I remember, if I look back on my own journey, I used to coast a lot, and then I could sort of feel it. I could feel OCD sort of rising in a way where I'm thinking, fuck, it's going to get me. Usually around when I had like a big event coming up, like a big moment I wanted to enjoy. I was so desperate to enjoy, OCD would go, right, how can I ramp up? Looking for triggers, scanning for stuff in the past, maybe new themes, new thoughts, new triggers, thinking, fuck, if this thing latches now, I'm not going to be able to get back. Now, as I'm walking through, we've had so much rain recently in England. It's like everywhere is just a bog. Now this walk that I normally go on with the dog is normally okay, but now I have to walk really slow, because if I suddenly slip over in this video, although you would all absolutely piss yourself and die laughing, I'd be covered in mud. so that don't happen. It's just starting to rain as well. But yeah, going back to what I was saying, if I could speak to myself 5 years ago, yes, compassion is there, but I needed so much tough love, and because I'd be like, yeah, but that's too much. I'm settled now. I'm okay. I'm doing all right. I'm still getting triggered, man. Don't get me wrong. I was still getting triggered a lot. I was still feeling very anxious. The chronic guilt was still pumping away. It just wasn't as bad as rock bottom, right? And that is exactly what people settle for. They go, well, at least I can function. At least I'm at a stage where I can actually go to work, which is good. Of course it is. It's good. When you've been housebound, when you've been suicidal, when you've been crying down the phone every 2 minutes, when you have been rock bottom, that is progress. Of course it is. However, the point of this video is how that exact thing holds you back from getting even better, from recovering, because you just settle for that comfort. You settle for that, yeah, okay, I'm better now, right? And I see it so many times where people stay at that stage, they coast, they go, right, this is what I want now. Thank you very much, Sam, I'm gone. And then boom, they get hit with a trigger, a big setback, a big relapse. Don't get me wrong, things happen in life, as we all know. So the tools that we learn, the tools that we apply, the application of the tools isn't just for one theme, isn't for one real event, isn't for one, relationship OCD, isn't just for one trigger. It is for any adversity, any obstacle, anything, any problem, any issue in your life that can arise. Okay, it makes you think more rationally. You're not just swayed by emotions. You're not just thinking, right, jump to that because I feel anxious. I'm going to make this decision because it triggers me. Make this decision because I'm panicking. That is exact thing where people go wrong. Okay, it's very important to brush up on the tools of unconditional acceptance as well, because think of how irrational society is. Society is very irrational. So it's very easy to slip back into that black and white thinking. Something I did a lot of times, where I could tell the catastrophizing was coming back. The 0 to 100 awfulising thinking. Just the smallest bit of trivial stuff in my life. Oh, that's fucking bad. That's terrible. That's awful. Oh no, I won't be able to cope with that. And gradually and subtly that slips back in. So it's very important to stay on top of that. Okay, I'm not saying dispute every day like a madman, 100 miles an hour. Of course not. Okay, there's obviously balance with that. However, just because you're feeling better, just because you're coasting, just because you're doing okay, doesn't mean you just chuck the tools out the window. Doesn't mean you get all the books and just chuck them out the window and go, right, thanks OCD, I'm done now, never speaking to you again, right? Because that is exactly the thing when people go wrong. Because people see OCD as like a negative in life, right? Which is understandable. I hated it. I used to say things like, OCD, you're a monster, you're evil, worst thing ever. I used to say things like that, okay? But when I started to realise, and this took a little while to realise, and this was a huge mindset shift, this was life-saving, a change of philosophy, right? I started seeing OCD, any adversity, any problem in my life, as an opportunity, as a chance to progress, to improve, okay? Any mistake, any weakness, right? How can I get better? How can I learn from that? That is life-changing stuff, because you're not then scared of anything. You're not then, of course there's concerns, of course there is, but you're not just dominated by fear. Every decision isn't made by fear or anxiety or by how you're feeling, because you're normally, for example, when you make a decision, you're so scared of getting it wrong or making a mistake, that then that tends to lead to indecision. And indecisive is a huge trait in OCD sufferers, because it's a responsibility aspect that's jacked right up, and it feels like, fuck, if I make the wrong decision, there is no coming back from that. Life isn't worth living, I'm undeserving of this, blah blah blah, I can never live with myself, blah blah blah. Okay, things that I used to say a lot, and I hear many people say now a lot. Okay, so anything, any difficult, challenging moment that you face in life, try and see it as, right, this is difficult, this is tough, but how do I learn from this? How do I progress from this? Because I look back, I'd say this isn't compulsively, I look back every 6 months probably at my life and go, right, how have I improved? How have I got better? You've only got to look at my videos that I used to do when I first started on the channel. How the knowledge was there, but it was the confidence, it was the how to explain the point, the phrases I was using, how I was talking, okay? That comes with time, that comes with patience, that comes with persistence, and that's just a small example of me. And that's just one thing, there's many things, like exercise goals, financial goals, career goals, relationship goals, anything. I look back and go, right, how have I improved on that? Okay, not compulsively tracking it, never do that. I think, oh, I don't know how I was doing 6 months ago, oh, let's try and think about it now. but I'm not like writing it down, making notes, going, right, am I better? Am I better? If I'm not, I could accept myself if I wasn't. But of course, I'm always aiming to improve. I'm always striving to get better. Of course I am. But I could accept myself as an individual if I did slip back, if I did make no progress, if I got worse, if I didn't hit a goal. Okay? It comes from these goals and these aims and these desires. They come from a point of passion and striving to achieve. It's not from a stance of conditional acceptance. It's not from a stance of, I can only accept myself if I achieve this goal. Okay, it's the strong, very passionate, very disciplined, dedicated motivation to achieve that goal, of course. Very passionate, very driven person. However, if I didn't achieve that goal, I would not, there would be no chronic anxiety, there would be no chronic guilt. I'd go, right, where have I gone wrong? How could I improve that going forward? How can I make my goal more likely to achieve in the future? Okay, now that is so important, very important, anything that you face in life, because when you're recovered from OCD, when you're getting better from OCD, you are not problem free, you are not hassle free, you are not stress free. Shit still happens in life. Okay, the misconception is that when you're recovered from OCD, you're walking around the street doing handstands, obviously exaggerating, but feeling like you've got a big smile on your face, feeling like everything's all rosy and no problems hit you. Of course they do. Things could happen. I could get diagnosed with stage 4 cancer tomorrow. I could lose a family member. I could get hit by a financial crisis. I could lose my dog. My partner could leave me. I could get kicked out my house for whatever reason. Okay, these things could happen, right? It's not all plain sailing, right? And this is why the tools that we learn leave you better equipped, in better shape, and in a better mindset, and having that attitude to overcome. Right, whatever problem hits me, how do I overcome that? Okay, because otherwise we just get so bogged down and thinking, fuck, I'm really negative, thinking, bloody hell, if this problem now happens, how am I going to cope? Because it often feels like it all gets on top of us when we're suffering with OCD, right? Which is understandable. We've got to look at problems as an opportunity and a chance to improve and progress and get better with whatever we're trying to achieve. Okay, task perfection, but not self-perfection. That is very important stuff. Trying to get really good at a task, very efficient at a task, but not rating yourself, not coming from a point of, I could only accept myself if I achieve that one thing. If you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like before I get absolutely soaked, because it is about to pour down, or before I slip over and get covered in mud. If you're interested in our one-to-one services, please email phil@ocdrecovery.com. There's a WhatsApp link in the description of this video where you can get in touch with us. Anyway, you take care and we'll speak again. Bye bye.